Landon Valor loved the way I looked at him, like he was the sun, and I was just a flower, turning my face to follow his light. He was adjusting the knot of his silk tie in the grand mirror of our suite at the plaza, and I was right behind him, my reflection a soft focus echo of his sharp, tailored perfection. The Valor blue, I murmured, my fingers ghosting over the fabric. It brings out the storm in your eyes, he chuckled. A low, rich sound that used to make my heart flutter. Still my little poet, Ave, he turned, cupping my face in his hands. His thumbs traced my cheekbones, his gaze intense. You know I love you, right? He asked, his voice a velvet whisper. I leaned into his touch, my eyes closing in faint bliss. I know. And then I heard it, not his words, but the thought behind them, as clear and cold as the diamond on my finger, so perfectly trained, just like a loyal little puppy. The final touch for tonight's show. My smile didn't waver, my heart didn't break, it simply turned to ice, because tonight, at our engagement party, the show was about to become far more interesting than he could ever imagine. The grand ballroom of the plaza glittered, chandeliers dripped crystals like frozen tears, and champagne flowed like a river of liquid gold. This was Landon's world, a dazzling cage of wealth and power, and tonight, I was meant to be his most prized bird. He kept his arm securely around my waist, a gesture that looked like affection but felt like ownership. Darling, you remember Jensen Bell and Tanner Holt, he said, steering me toward his two closest friends. Jensen, with his slicked back hair and predator's grin, raised his glass to Avery, the girl who finally tamed the untamable Landon Valor. Tanner's eyes raked over my body, lingering on the neckline of my dress. She's a work of art. Lon, you sure you want to lock this down? Landon squeezed my waist tighter. She's not going anywhere. Lock it down. I heard Jensen's thought cut through the noise. He's just playing house until Odette comes back. This whole engagement is a joke. Tanner's mind was cruder. Damn, that body. Lon said we could have a taste after the wedding. I can't fucking wait to hear her beg. My blood ran cold, but my expression remained one of shy, grateful happiness. I had been playing a part for 3 years, the part of the meek, adoring housekeeper's daughter, plucked from obscurity by the prince of a New York dynasty, the girl who was so blinded by love that she couldn't see the truth. But something had shifted tonight. It was as if a switch had been flipped in my brain. A new channel suddenly tuned in, broadcasting the ugly static of everyone's real thoughts, and the truth was a symphony of contempt. Isn't she just lovely? A woman with a Botox-frozen smile said to her friend as I passed. A charity case in couture, the friend's mind replied. I give it a year before he trades her in for a model with a better bloodline. The praise was a lie, the smiles were masks. I felt a dizzying wave of nausea, but I anchored myself to the one solid thing in the room, my purpose. This wasn't a discovery, it was a confirmation. I had always known, on some level, that I was a project to him, a game. I'd seen the real Landon once, long ago. It was a rainy afternoon at Columbia University, 2 years into my scholarship and my role as his devoted girlfriend. I was searching for a quiet place to study in the library when I heard voices from a secluded alcove. It was Landon and Odette Blanchard, his unforgettable first love, the one who'd left him for a European duke before I came along. You've done well, Landon. Odette's voice was like honey laced with poison. You've turned that proud little thing into a proper pet. Landon's laugh was low and cruel. It was easy, a few expensive gifts, some empty promises. She's desperate for this life. She'd do anything to keep it. But the final step is the most important, Odette murmured. The wedding. Make her believe she's on top of the world. Then, when everyone is watching, you break her, utterly. Her next words were a whisper I would never forget. I want her to end up just like her father. A pathetic leap from a great height. A chill had seized me then. A bone-deep cold that had nothing to do with the drafty library. My father. They knew about my father. He had been the CFO at Odette's family company, the Blanchard Corporation. He was an honest man who discovered a massive fraud scheme orchestrated by her father. He became a whistleblower. In return, they destroyed his reputation, buried him in lawsuits, and drove him to take his own life. The official story was suicide due to stress. I knew it was murder by 1,000 cuts, and Odette wanted me to share his fate. Landon had sealed the promise with a kiss. For you, my love, anything, the world will watch her fall. In that moment, my fairy tale shattered, and my own plan began to form. Back in the glittering ballroom, Odette herself materialized at my side. She was the epitome of old money elegance, her smile both dazzling and predatory. She took my hand, her touch surprisingly cold. Avery, darling, I am so thrilled for you. Landon is a lucky man to have someone so devoted. Her mind screamed a different truth. You pathetic little whore. You think this ring makes you one of us. I will personally watch them tear you apart on your wedding day. I squeezed her hand back, my own smile just as sweet, just as fake. Thank you, Odette. It means so much coming from you. I let my gaze drift to Landon, who was watching us, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. He walked over, disentangling our hands and pulling me back to his side. Odette, good to see you. Why is she here? Landon's thought was sharp with annoyance. This is my game, my prize. She's supposed to wait in the wings. Interesting. A crack in the perfect alliance. My newfound ability was more than a curse, it was a weapon. The orchestra began to play, and Landon led me to the dance floor. Happy, my little shadow, he whispered, his lips against my hair. Just keep her happy until the wedding. His mind chanted, keep the puppy docile. I tilted my head back, meeting his eyes with a look of pure, unadulterated adoration. More than you could ever know, Landon. And for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't lying. I was truly, deeply happy, because the game had just changed. And they had no idea they were no longer the players, they were the prey. Later that night, long after the last guest had departed, I stood on the balcony of our suite, the cool New York air balm on my skin. Landon came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist and resting his chin on my shoulder. What are you thinking about? He asked. Our future, I said, leaning back into him. It just feels unreal. Good. Keep her in the fantasy. His mind supplied, smug and satisfied. It is real. Ave, I'm going to give you everything. He thought he was the master puppeteer, pulling my strings. He couldn't see that I had already cut them. As soon as he was asleep, I slipped out of bed. In the silent darkness of the living room, I pulled out a sleek, encrypted burner phone from its hiding place inside the lining of an old textbook. My fingers flew across the screen, dialing a number I had committed to memory 2 years ago. It was a number I had sworn to myself I would only use when the time was right. It rang twice before a deep, calm voice answered, laced with a familiar note of cynical amusement. Well, to what do I owe the pleasure? Griffin Duke, Landon Valor's greatest business rival, a self-made tech mogul who despised the old money arrogance of the Valor family. Griffin, I said, my voice steady and low. It's Avery Locke. There was a brief, surprised silence on the other end. I know who you are, he said finally, his tone shifting, becoming sharper. I assume this isn't a social call. No, I replied, looking out at the city lights. A landscape of sleeping predators and endless opportunities. I'm calling about your previous offer, the one about a partnership, to dismantle Valor Corp from the inside out, he asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. That's the one, I confirmed. I could almost hear him smile. Changed your mind about your fairy tale, princess? Let's just say I've decided to write my own ending, I said. The wedding is in 7 days. After I leave Landon standing at the altar, we can discuss the finer details of our contract. The line went silent for a heartbeat. Then, a low whistle. You're going to leave him at the altar. Griffin's voice was filled with a newfound respect. Valor is going to have a public meltdown. I love it. This is just the beginning, I said softly. I'll be there, he promised, his voice now a low, conspiratorial hum. I'll be waiting for you outside the church. Consider me your getaway driver. I'll see you then, Mr. Duke. I look forward to it. MS. Locke. I ended the call and erased the log. The ice in my heart wasn't just cold anymore. It was sharp. It was ready. And 7 days was all I needed to burn his kingdom to the ground. The last 3 years had been a masterclass in deception. I became the perfect accessory. I learned to anticipate Landon's moods, to soothe his ego, to organize his life with quiet efficiency. I was the soft place for him to land, the calming presence that managed his chaotic world. I remembered the day he'd given me a black MX card. For your little expenses, he'd said with a dismissive wave of his hand. Don't embarrass me by wearing rags. It's cheaper than a salary, his mind had thought, and it keeps her dependent. That card became the seed money for my secret. While he thought I was shopping on Fifth Avenue, I was meeting with patent lawyers. While he assumed I was at a spa, I was renting a small office space in Brooklyn under a shell corporation. Nexus Innovations was born from his arrogance, a tech consulting firm specializing in logistics and supply chain optimization. It was a dull field,